10 reasons not to file bankruptcy.
Number 1.
When you file bankruptcy and you have a pending inheritance from somebody who's either already died or who passes away in the 6 months after you file bankruptcy, you will lose that inheritance. Now, for some clients, a $10,000 inheritance versus $100,000 of debt, you just filed the bankruptcy because the inheritance is not going to be enough anyway.
This is known as a no-brainer.
But occasionally we have clients who get a big inheritance or believe that they're going to. And for that person, it doesn't make sense to file bankruptcy. Your better advice is to take that big wad of cash that you're about to get and pay your debts and hopefully negotiate a good deal with them outside of the bankruptcy system.
Second reason.
Another reason not to file bankruptcy is if you're judgment proof. Creditors try to collect judgments by garnishing wages, by taking money out of your bank account, by placing liens against real estate homes that you own. If you don't work, if you don't have money in the bank, and if you don't have a home, then you may not need to file bankruptcy. Sure, it's nice to file bankruptcy to stop all the harassment, the letters, the phone calls, and all that. But if you're an older person on Social Security that lives in an apartment, it may not be worth filing bankruptcy because there's nothing the creditors can take from you. It's called being judgment proof. If you have something to lose, consider filing bankruptcy. But if there's nothing that can be taken from you, then you don't need to file a bankruptcy case.
Number 3.
You don't have enough debt.
What number is that?
Well, the reality is this is a different number for every single person. And the way I really describe this is, are you at the point that you have so much debt that you can't ever repay it by working extra shifts, by selling a few things? At what point is your debt unmanageable? Is it hopeless? Is it beyond what you can pay back on your own? If it's not at that level, it's probably not worth filing bankruptcy because bankruptcy costs time, it costs money, it costs effort, and you can only file a Chapter 7 every 8 years. So the first thing you have to look at for yourself and talk to an attorney about is, do I have enough debt to actually make this worthwhile?
Number 4.
Do I actually have debt, or do I really have a negative income problem? Sometimes people find themselves in a situation where they lose their job, they get their hours cut, they have something bad happen in their life. And I've talked to people that say, oh my gosh, I need to file bankruptcy because I just lost my job. Well, sometimes you don't actually need to file bankruptcy yet because you can see that the writing's on the wall, things aren't going well, but you haven't actually accumulated the debt yet. And you may not need to file bankruptcy if you can get a new job.
Congrats. Can you start Monday?
If you can get unemployment, if you could turn things around quickly, tighten that belt a little bit, you may not need to file bankruptcy if it's just an income problem that you could fix by either cutting those expenses or finding a way to get yourself more income before the debts actually arrive.
5th reason.
Another big reason not to file bankruptcy is if you have something valuable that you don't want to lose in bankruptcy. My favorite story here. I had a client who had a very, very valuable firearm that belonged to a famous gunman from the Wild West. It's a family heirloom. And we talked about it. They had a decent amount of debt, but if we filed bankruptcy, that family heirloom pistol was going to be auctioned off and sold and paid to the creditors because it was worth a tremendous amount of money. And my client did not want to lose that. So instead, it was better for them to go to their family and say, hey, I'm in a lot of trouble, but I don't want to lose this firearm. Can you help me with my debt? Because they did not want to lose that valuable piece of property.
Number 6.
Bankruptcy involves documents. We've got a couple video on documents. We're going to need pay stubs. We're going to need bank statements. We're going to need IDs and car titles and paperwork. And if you're not somebody who is willing or able to go get all your financial documents, then bankruptcy isn't for you because bankruptcy is going to revolve around a lot of financial disclosure. And that brings us to our next point.
7.
Bankruptcy is also about full financial disclosure. You're going to be revealing your assets, your debts, your bank account, balances, and your financial transactions all get put on a 70-page piece of paper for the trustee and your creditors to look at. And if you're not comfortable with a full and honest disclosure of your finances, then bankruptcy is not for you, because that's part of the deal. The bankruptcy trustee gets to look at your finances and say, yes, this person is broke. And if you're not willing to reveal your finances, that's okay. That just means that bankruptcy is not right for you.
8.
Another reason not to file bankruptcy is if you need to buy a house in the next 2 or 3 years. When you file a bankruptcy, the main mortgage backers in our country, the VA and the FHA, will not give you a mortgage for 2 years. And conventional mortgages, it's a 3-year wait time. So if you're somebody that absolutely definitely needs to buy a house in the next 2 to 3 years, and it's not a problem that you have all this debt, then filing bankruptcy is not for you. Now, the reality is for most of my clients, we tell them, file the bankruptcy. Take all that money you were paying your creditors, set it aside in a savings account for 2 or 3 years. Now you'll be in a great shape to buy a house.
Reason number 9.
You're time barred. And what that means is that you've filed a really recent bankruptcy. You can only file a Chapter 7 every 8 years. You could file a Chapter 13 more frequently than that. But if you've recently gotten a bankruptcy discharge, you probably can't get another one. The math behind this is a little bit complicated, especially when we're talking about Chapter 13s. But again, a Chapter 7 is 8 years to 8 years. And if you're looking for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and it's only been 5 years, don't file a bankruptcy. Your case will not get a discharge and it will not be successful.
10th reason.
If you're going to die soon. Sounds morbid, but most of your debts in life don't go to your beneficiaries. This is going to be different state by state. If you're looking to pass a large inheritance onto your family, you may need to actually do a bankruptcy before you pass away. But if you don't have much that you're going to be leaving to your beneficiaries in terms of a house, cars, large amounts of cash, well, a lot of your debts, and probably all your debts, are going to die with you. So if you're somebody who's getting old, or you're on your deathbed and you think, man, I got to file bankruptcy before I die, you probably don't need to. You're somebody who does not need to file bankruptcy.
And here's one more.
What if you want to file bankruptcy to get rid of a loan on your car or your truck or your house, and you want to keep that car or truck or house? Sometimes we get these calls. What's going on here is called a secured debt. When you finance a loan and you put up a collateral like a car or a house, you can't file bankruptcy, eliminate the debt, and keep the car or the house. It doesn't work that way because the debt has attached to the property item. So if the only reason that you're looking to file bankruptcy is to try and chop away a secured debt without paying anything at all and keeping the property item, bankruptcy is not right for you either. Now, if you don't fall into one of those categories and you have more debt than you can afford to deal with on your own, it's probably time to call us.